if you got a concentration effect that you really want to keep up,
This
then
defends that.
yes.
Definitely true. This is an extra. If you're all in around a concentration effect as a build, I could definitely see mirror image being something you heavily consider and go, we're not going into combat because we're finding ways to get prep rounds because I want to have 4 or 3 ways to block effects that could break my concentration.
Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about the spell Mirror Image.
Whoa, it's a duplicate of me, and there's another one over there. He's just wearing a hat.
No, it's
Mirror
not.
image, right? No, yeah, listen. I got to with a bit somehow. This spell, I really want to like mirror image. I really want to like it. The premise is really cool. It's the illusionist's fantasy, the whole Gambit thing. Not Gambit, the superhero. Like, ooh, I'm gonna make duplicates of me, and you're gonna hit the wrong ones. That's really fun and thematically flavorful. I just have never found it like that easy to cast, and it makes it really clunky on a lot of sheets. You know what I mean? So it's a second level illusion spell, cast time of an action. Its range is self, so if you have a Find Steed available to you, go ahead and duplicate this bad boy. Verbal somatic components, duration's 1 minute, no concentration. That's what it's got really going for it. 3 illusory duplicates of yourself appear in your space. Until the spell ends, the duplicates move with you and to mimic your actions, shifting positions so it is impossible to track which image is real. You can use your action to dismiss the illusory duplicates. Each time a creature targets you with an attack during the spell's duration, roll a d20 to determine whether the attack instead targets one of your duplicates. If you have 3 duplicates, you must roll a 6 or higher to change the attack's target to a duplicate. With 2 duplicates, you must roll an 8 or higher. With 1 duplicate, you must roll an 11 or higher. A duplicate's AC is 10 plus your dex mod. If an attack hits a duplicate, the duplicate is destroyed. A duplicate can be destroyed by only an attack that hits it. It ignores all the damage and effects. The spell ends when all 3 duplicates are destroyed. Creature is unaffected by the spell if it can't see, if it relies on a sense other than sight, such as blind sight, or if it can perceive illusions as false, as with true sight.
All right. What don't you like about this?
The action cast time.
Well.
I have a really, really hard time as a wizard specifically, and there are other options that get it. Sorcerer gets it, Warlock gets it, Trigger Domain, Cleric gets it for free, Armorer gets it, Circle of the Lamp Coast gets it. I have a really, really hard time with such a short duration going, all right, my action is I make 3 duplicates that sometimes block hits. The first one's like usually, the second one's like, yeah, also still usually, the third one's like half the time. So it's, I don't know. A second level slot, I don't know when I want to cast this. I don't know what tier of play I want to cast this in. It's a really tough little question for me just because of how tight the window is as to when it's possible to make it powerful, right?
Well, I mean, anytime you expect to be targeted with an attack, it's nice to have. I like that the duplicates actually have AC. Like,
Yeah, they don't auto hit.
I always pictured it as like, all right, you attack me, whether you would have hit or missed, I'm losing a duplicate. But no, that's not the case. They actually have to hit the duplicate.
So I kind of lose the fantasy a bit with that bit as well. So like it says they appear in your space and they move with you and mimic your actions, shifting around so it's impossible to tell where you are, which already doesn't make a lot of sense if you're like attacking, like if you're a blade singer and you're attacking with a sword, they know where the sword hit them. Right? Like that's not gonna be necessary. And so the illusions are like moving around, shifting through your positions, and then they also can dodge attacks, right? So now they're not mimicking you perfectly unless you're pretending to dodge the attacks too, but their AC is different than yours. So they don't benefit from your armor and stuff like that. So if things do connect where your armor would be, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of little things that I'm like, what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I think
Is where
you
I end
might be
up on it.
overthinking this one. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. 100% overthinking it. It's just nitpicking, and I'm here to nitpick.
But you mentioned Find Steed before. If you don't have Find Steed, then you're the one on the horse. All those other guys sitting on not horses, swirling around you. Like that's where I'm overthinking it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of. I think the appearance of this is going to vary wildly person to person as far as what's in their heads. Even at the same table, people are going to envision this completely differently. I would love for mirror image to be more of an effect of you get duplicates of yourselves that you get to pick where they go. I think that could be a lot more fun if you like cast from the locations and stuff. Trickery Domain gets a feature that does that exact kind of thing. I think it's a really, really cool feature. As is, though, this ends up being not really a high utility tool, more just like a defensive buff spell. You can't really do anything cool with the illusions. You can't send them places. You can't really intimidate people with them. You can't do illusionist trickster garbage with it, which is what I'm here for when I want illusion spells, which makes me lower on this, honestly. If I could do cool things with the illusions, I'd be happier with it. Instead, they're just like, yeah, you gotta maybe block 3 hits. Okay.
I mean, you could like, well, this would be better if Bard's got this, but you could have like, backup dancers, and you could
But
sing.
the backup dancers are shifting around inside of you?
That's awesome.
Is it? I think it looks kind of weird and stupid. I would love if this was backup dancers. I would love if this was just you make 3 duplicates of yourself and you can control them. That sounds like a hell of a fun time, right? I'd love that idea.
Well,
It's not what it is, though. It's not even close to that.
There's already a spell that does that, isn't there?
There's silent image and there's major image, and that's one.
No, I'm talking
creature
about like the
object.
one where you make a duplicate of yourself.
Oh, seeming?
And no, is that what? No, that's changing other people's appearance.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the one that you become invisible and you put yourself
Right.
somewhere. That's the one you're thinking of. Commenters down below, whatever the name of that spell is. That'd be great. Because Bob and I can't find it right now.
Yeah. But no, I mean, this is what it is, and I'm happy it exists in the form that it exists in. Yeah, maybe it's not going to be great for every fight, and I don't know exactly what tier of play I want it in, but I know I do want it at some point. The biggest problem I have with it is that probably don't want it on a warlock. It doesn't upcast. I'll leave sorcerer and wizard, which don't tend to be frontline folks.
Yeah.
I
If you
I
are
want to be getting attacked.
definitely 100%, you want to be getting attacked if you want this to do anything, which makes it again that really big question mark to me. Because like, if you're a blade singer, which is like the combat version of those classes, and you can do some jank things with sorcerer, you can do some other things with abjurer and stuff. But if you're like the streamlined mainline frontline wizard, I have a really, really tough time casting this in the first round of combat. Like, I just don't ever want to do that. Maybe you're not in range of people, but if you're not in range of people, you're still a full caster, so you got a whole battery of whatever else you want to throw out there into the world to do damage to things, right?
Well,
So
maybe at lower levels, maybe you don't have so many spells at your disposal. You want to conserve them. So I'm gonna just run up there with the
spend
party
one of my higher level slots on not getting hit. I don't love that.
No, but so I spend my action, my second level spell on this, and I just run up with the rest of the party and firebolt or something.
This takes your action, so you're not even firebolting, right? Like, you're just spending your whole turn doing this.
Not that turn. I'm talking about following turns, because I want to conserve my other spells.
Yeah, I really still, I just don't see it. I don't see like there being an instance where I want to cast this to conserve spells, right? I want to like, maybe this keeps me alive 4 extra rounds. If the encounter is over, you'll save more spells, right? Like, a Rhyme's Binding Ice will kill things faster, which will lead to less spells being needed. But if things get like really dire and you go, ah, crap, I spent an action on Mirror Image, things aren't dying, I have lost 2 of them, but I have the 3rd one up, and I'm still kind of getting some hits, some aren't. I guess I'll just like have to use another 2nd or a 3rd level spell slot here. That's against the premise of trying to use this to like conserve resources.
All right. How about higher levels? When this becomes super cheap, yes, it still takes an action, which might have been better spent. But I do like that this doesn't have concentration. It's up for the whole fight. I don't feel too bad about using it if it looks like it's going to be a big fight.
I definitely think this is the kind of thing where if you're playing a wizard, specifically a wizard past like 7th level, this is pretty harmless to have on your sheet for the times you get a round or 2 of prep. Because if you know, like, okay, we know on the side of the store there's 6 baddies we're going to go into a fight. Those moments happen. There are plenty of moments in real D&D where you know there's about to be a skirmish. I do have 2 prep rounds. I do have a prep round. This is a free extra stack effect you can just slap on yourself at almost no cost. Right. So I think in the upper tiers, it's fine, but it isn't completely free. It's still a 2nd level slot. There are other things you want to do with cheap slots and the upper tiers. I think there are more powerful things you want to do with your slots in the upper tiers, if we're going to be honest with ourselves. It's still, and like 3 duplicates is comparatively worse the higher level you go, because more things make more attacks, so they don't last as long. But they are blocking more damage, so that could be nice too. They're almost always going to get hit though, because an AC of 12, which is what their AC is normally going to be at most, is not robust. So if they get targeted, they're usually going to get hit. which leads them to be like, okay, so this blocks 3-ish hits. That's fine. It's free. Again, if you can, it's free. It's not casting you in action combat, like action combat, actions in the encounter. Right? That's where it is free at, and that's where you can get a little more juice on your sheet. That's not riveting to me. That's not that exciting to me. I'm not gonna be a wizard at 7th level and reach back for this and go, oh, now's the time I pick up mirror image whenever I'm getting cool new 6th level slots, 7th level spells, those kinds of things happening, you know?
I mean, if you got a concentration effect that you really want to keep up,
This
then
defends that.
yes.
Definitely true. This is an extra. If you're all in around a concentration effect as a build, I could definitely see mirror image being something you heavily consider and go, we're not going into combat because we're finding ways to get prep rounds because I want to have 4 or 3 ways to block effects that could break my concentration. If you're like all in on conjure minor elementals or something, or all in on conjure elemental, right? The thing that it will actively kick your ass if you lose concentration on it, having a way to not lose concentration on it can be really invaluable. This is an extra layer there.
Yeah, that's another, perhaps use case. You have a long duration concentration spell going on, one of the summons or something. You had that in one fight, but you're really happy because it survived the fight. Your concentration's still going. You want to do what you can to keep that going on your way to the next fight. And there, I don't mind. I really don't mind blowing even if it's not a prep round. I don't mind blowing a real round. For the potential to keep my concentration up, because the summon thing can attack.
Context obviously is really important to all these things.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes though, even the fights where even if you don't get prep rounds, there's considerations of positioning, who's actually being attacked. If you go 5 rounds and you spent round 1 casting this and you never are attacked at that encounter, you did just inflate the duration of the encounter for no real reason. And that's not going to be often in the upper tiers, but it can happen. There's going to be some encounters where like you spending an action doing this was not nearly as important as you laying down covering fire to get rid of monsters. It wasn't nearly as important as you setting up a saber die. It wasn't nearly as important as the other dozen things that you really want to get out round 1 of a fight. Like the round 1 of a fight is often going to be the biggest indicator as to if the fight is a success or not, right? What effects stick? What blows are dealt? How much damage is dished out? Round 1 shifts a lot of the sway of action economy. And spending yours going 3-ish attacks don't hit, I'm not thrilled to do ever, especially in the upper tiers.
I don't know. That's I mean, depending on what's attacking you, you're swapping out one of your actions for multiple of theirs.
Sometimes.
If
Again,
it works. Of course,
yeah.
I mean, it's not foolproof. This isn't going to protect you from a fireball. It's not going to protect you from a breath weapon or like even a save or die effect.
Yeah, a lot of times effects that or fights that have those kinds of conditions and attack rolls, the attack rolls are hitting the front line and then the AoEs are hitting everyone. So like you're not taking the majority of the attack rolls anyway, and the effects that are damaging you, this does stone nothing against, which isn't ideal. And again,
and those could break your concentration.
Yep. This is protection in some ways. This does block some hits, but you still have to beat certain numbers. There's still the variance of, well, sometimes I roll a 4 on my first result, and I still take the hit, and I still drop the concentration. It's not foolproof by any means, but it doesn't need to be. It's a 2nd level slot. I mean, like, if you're going to take advice away from this, I don't think this is a spell you want in the early tiers. I think, like, under 5th level, I don't want mirror image on my character sheet for most characters. It's not going to be that abhorrent of a spell. You'll find a decent enough use time casting it. I always am going to favor ways to end fights, not ways to prolong them. This is a way to prolong a fight. So that's my general take into low tiers with this thing. And if you get prep rounds, it's kind of a gravy. If you're only doing 1 or 2 fights, it gets a lot better. Now, in the upper tiers, it's a lot more interesting. It's still something that is going to be selectively good in some fights and not others, and isn't something you're going to want to spend actions on in combat, I still think, basically ever. Which leaves this as a solid 3 out of 5. Like, it has a place in the game. It's a little bit clunky. I wish it was cooler, but it does its job well enough, I think, right? No concentration really saves this from the gutter.
I agree with your 3 out of 5. I disagree that you're never going to want this in the early tiers. I think there's potential for fun with it, and if you do get it to work and somebody hits one of your images, you're going to feel really good about it. That's I've used not in this edition, in past editions, but yeah, I remember feeling really happy when one of my images went down.
My thoughts on it in the low tiers isn't that it won't do anything at all. My thoughts are instead that it isn't doing anything powerfully. So if you're
Yeah.
at a table that is prioritizing power, I don't think mirror image in the low tier is where you want to be. Or if you're like, if people are regularly going unconscious at your tables, is a good way to kind of think about it. I think mirror image is a net negative to your sheet because it's not going to help encounters in the way that you want them to. This is a not a way to end an encounter to prevent people from going down. This is a way to say, me specifically, I'm going to waste a turn in combat while everyone else goes down. Now, if you're at, an
And
average
that's
D&D,
why everybody else is going to.
yeah, it's because you're spending your first action in combat doing nothing. If you're at a casual table, big jokes, roleplay heavy, all the different kinds of stuff, this is a perfectly reasonable effect. You can have fun with it, especially if you want to try some melee wizard nonsense. I would not expect much out of it beyond I want to feel like I'm the dodging illusionist, because then it can kind of fulfill that fantasy.
All right, good. That was Mirror Image. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for watching. We'd love to hear your opinions on Mirror Image. Let us know down in the comments, and like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.